Very good morning. Department of ECE welcomes you to the lecture series on computer communication networks. Subject code 17 EC 64, 15 EC 64, semester 6th A, B and parallel batch. The module number 5, the lecture number 47, and this is presented by A.V. Kolki, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, KLS VDIT Haria. In the last lecture, we discussed about selective repeat protocol operation, the selective repeat protocol operation with respect to the finite state machines, the examples on selective repeat protocol. The topics today we are going to discuss in this section are Introduction to TCP/IP protocol suite, Introduction to user datagram protocol, user datagram packet format, UDP applications, services. The introduction of the transport layer protocol. In the earlier chapter, we discussed about the transport layers, and now we concentrate on the transport layer protocols in the internet. The upcoming figure shows the position of these three protocols in the TCP/IP protocol suite. The TCP/IP protocol, we are already familiar with that. It comprises of 5 different layers that are physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer and application layer. We are now in the fourth layer from bottom to top. If I am speaking, we are in the fourth layer. We already discussed about what is transport layer. So we are discussing now which are the protocols that will be used by the transport layer. The transport layer, it makes use of the three protocols, namely UDP, TCP, SCTP. UDP, it is user datagram protocol, and TCP is a transmission control protocol, and SCTP is stream control transmission protocol. So let us discuss about the UDP. In this video, we are discussing about the UDP, that is user datagram protocol. When we say transport layer, the transport layer protocol usually has several responsibilities. One is to create a process to process communication. These protocols use port numbers to accomplish this. The port numbers provide end-to-end addresses at the transport layer and allow multiplexing, demultiplexing at this layer. Just as IP addresses do at the network layer, the table which gives the common port numbers for all the three protocols what we are discussing. So these are the the port numbers. They are called as well-known port numbers for UDP and TCP. The seventh port number is nothing but it's a echo protocol. It follows the echo protocol, and this will be supporting for the UDP application, UDP protocol. Echoes back a received datagram. The ninth one, the port number 9, it is a discard. It is also supporting for the UDP protocol. It discards any datagram that is received. The 11th port number, so that is for users. So this we are using for the UDP protocol and as well as the TCP protocol. And this is for the active users. We are using this port number. The port number 13, that describes about the daytime, and that is applicable for the UDP protocol as well as TCP protocol. It returns the date and the time. So like that we are having so many well-known port numbers as it is presented in this slide. There are so many other the application related the port numbers we are having. The UDP, the user datagram protocol, is a connectionless, unreliable transport protocol. If UDP is so powerless, why would a process want to use it? With the disadvantages come some advantages. So that's why we are going for this UDP. The main reason of using this UDP protocol is it's very simple and it's also having a minimum overheads. Even though it looks like a powerless, but because of its very simplicity and as well as minimum overhead, I mean to say that the headers what we are using in that, so only a less amount of the bytes of data we are using as a overhead, and that's why this becomes very useful whenever there is a fast communication is required. In such scenario we are using this kind of protocol. The user datagram, the UDP, in that the UDP packets are called user datagrams, have a fixed size header of 8 bytes made of 4 fields, each of 2 bytes, that is 16 bits. The next figure shows the format of a user datagram. The first 2 fields define the source and destination port numbers. The third field defines the total length of the user datagram. The header plus data is the total length of the 16 bits can define a total length of 0 to 65,535 bytes. However, the total length needs to be less because a UDP user datagram is stored in an IP datagram with the total length of 65,535 bytes. And the last field can carry the optional, that is checksum. The format, the datagram packet format, it looks like this. The UDP user datagram, it is total of 65,535 bytes. Out of that we are using the 8 bytes as a UDP header. So this header, it comprises of the 4 fields what I already mentioned, that are the source port number, that is 0 to 16, then destination port number 16 to 31, then the total length is another 16 bits, and the checksum is the last field, and that is also of 16 bit. The checksum is an optional. The reason is that the UDP, I already mentioned that it is a connectionless, less reliability, unreliable, because in UDP we don't have the flow control, we don't have error control. The error control, it's an optional one. If you want to implement this error control, if you want to include that, then you are going to define the checksum values. If you don't want to make use of this checksum, you don't want to follow up this error control, then you can set all the values, all the 16 bits of the checksum as 0, then you are not using the any error control. It's an optional value in the user datagram packet format. Let us take one example and we'll try to answer these questions. The following is the content of a UDP header in hexadecimal format, that is CB 840000D001C001C. This is what the header content. By referring this value, hexadecimal value, we need to answer now what is the source port number, what is the destination port number, what is the total length of the user datagram, what is the length of the data, then is the packet directed from a client to a server or vice versa, and finally what is the client process. In the given hexadecimal value, the first 4 digits of hexadecimal are representing the source port number. The next consecutive 4 bits are defining the destination port number. The next 4 are defining the total length of the header, and the next 4 bits are defining the checksum value. So this way, by referring these the digits, hexadecimal digits, so we will try to find out the solution for these questions. By referring to the first 4 digits, that is the source port number is the first 4 hexadecimal digits, that are CB84. So when I translate that value into a decimal value, I am going to get that value as a 52,100. So this is what the source port number, and this port number we already discussed that there are 2 variety of the ports, the well known ports and ephemeral ports and registered ports. So this 52,100, it belongs to ephemeral ports, or sometimes we call it as a temporary port. The destination port number is the second 4 hexadecimal digits, that is the 000D. When I translate this hexadecimal value into a decimal value, I am going to get that value as 13. So 13 is a well known port number, and that port number we are using for the server, whereas the ephemeral ports we are using for a client services, and well known ports we are using for a server service. The third 4 hexadecimal digits, that is 001C, it defines the length of the whole UDP packet as 28 bytes. The total length of the header is, the UDP packet is 28 bytes, and the length of the data is the length of the whole packet minus the length of the header. So the header bytes, the maximum header bytes are 8 bytes. From the given problem, we notice that the UDP packet size is, the total length is 28 bytes. When I subtract the total length minus the header, then I am going to get the length of the data, the length of the datagram. So in this example, the 28 is the total length of the UDP packet, and 8 bytes will be the headers. So therefore, when I subtract that 2, I am going to get the value of that as 20 bytes. Since the destination port number is 13, that we know it as a well known port number, so therefore the packet is from the client to the server. The client is requesting to the server with this port number. This is what the solution for the last example, that is example 1. The client process. The next question is, what is the client process? The client process is the daytime. So because we seen that in the port numbers for the daytime, so the port number we are using, the client is using for, it is the daytime application process here. So that's why the client process is asking for the day and time here. So you can refer the previous table what I shown, that port details, port number details, you refer it, there you find it. So this is the another example, a UDP header in hexadecimal format. So from this now you need to compute what is the source port number, what is the destination port number, what is the total length of the user datagram, what is the length of the data, is a packet directed from client to server or vice versa, and what is the client process. How it is answered for the problem, in the similar fashion you try to compute the solution for that. This exercise I'll give it to you. So before moving to that UDP applications, let us discuss about UDP services. The main services of UDP are, it provide a services from process to process communication. How in IP address, that is we are using at the network layer, how it delivers a packet from the source point to the host to the destination host. Similarly, the UDP, it delivers a packet from the source process to the destination process. It's a process to process delivery will be looked after by this UDP protocol. And we know that this UDP, it is a connectionless service. There is no connection will be established before sending our data in this. So as soon as I get a data from the application layer, so I make it as a packet, and that packet I used to deliver it without connecting, without establishing any connection. So I used to transmit it out. So that packet, if I am sending 3 to 4 packets, then every packet may take a different networks to reach the same destination. So this how it is a connectionless. There is no connection we are creating. There is no guaranteed that my packets will be get delivered to the end user. I am not guaranteeing here. So simply it is doing its best effort to deliver the packet. So that's why we say that the UDP protocol, it is a unreliable one, because of this is a connectionless best effort service what it executes. So similarly, it also does the flow control. Basically, there is no flow control in the UDP protocol. There is no window mechanism. We are discussed in the previous lectures that the window mechanism, if you are using it, then we can have a control for the sender. But here we don't have any window mechanism. Whatever the number of the sender he want to send the packets, he can send it to the receiver. Whether the receiver is able to capable of receiving that number of packets or not is totally irrelevant to that. If I have a data, I used to keep on transmitting that. So that's why we don't have any flow control in the UDP protocol. Then error control. So already I mentioned in the header that UDP packet header. So checksum we are using it. It is an optional. If you want, you may include it. If you don't want, you can discard it. It's an optional field. If you don't want to use it, you can use the checksum bits as 0, all 16 bit as 0. So that's way it may or may not follow that. So these are some of the services what the UDP will execute. And now let us discuss about the UDP applications. The UDP meets almost none of the criteria we mentioned earlier for a reliable transport layer protocol. UDP is preferable for some applications. The reason is that some services may have some side effects that are either unacceptable or not preferable. An application designer sometimes needs to compromise to get the optimum. For example, in our daily life, we all know that one day delivery of a package by a carrier is more expensive than a 3-day delivery. Although high speed and low cost are both desirable features in delivery of a parcel. They are in conflict with each other. So let us discuss this UDP applications by considering some of the examples. A client server application such as domain name server uses the services of UDP because a client needs to send a short request to a server and to receive a quick response from it. The request and a response can each fit in one user datagram. Since only one message is exchanged in each direction, the connectionless feature is not an issue. The client or a server does not worry that the messages are delivered out of order. Since if you consider a short messages, then my data will be get fit into a single datagram. Then only one packet has to be get delivered. One UDP packet has to be get delivered from the source to the destination. Then that packet may take some longer route or whatever the alternate route to reach the final destination. So I may be consuming some delay in delay, and due to that I may be getting some out of order packets, but somehow with some delay I am ready to accept and I can process that to the application layer. If the packet or a data is of a short, so then I can follow up like this. If my message is of long size, what has to be done? So let us discuss this in this example. A client server application such as a SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol, which is used in electronic mail, cannot use the services of UDP because a user can send a long email message which may include multimedia like images, audio or video. If the application uses UDP and the message does not fit in one single user datagram, the message must be split by the application into different user datagrams. Here, the connectionless service may create problems. The user datagrams may arrive and be delivered to the receiver application out of order. The receiver application may not be able to reorder the pieces. This means the connectionless service has a disadvantage for an application program that sends long messages. In the previous example, we have taken a very small message. The message in a single, that message will be get fits into a single datagram, then that can be get delivered and somehow it is reaching that, and that will be we are forwarding it to the application layer. But now in this case, if my message is very long enough, then it will not be going to fit in a single datagram. I need to divide that datagram into two packets. When I am delivering by considering the two packets, a single message I am sending in the two packets, then some may arrive in time, some may arrive in delay, and they may arrive in out of order. When they arrive like that, the UDP doesn't reorder it, and then it will not be forwarding to the application, it will be simply discarding it. So this is what the problem with longer messages. Let us assume we are downloading a very large text file from the internet. We definitely need to use a transport layer that provides a reliable service. We don't want part of the file to be missing or corrupted when we open the file. The delay created between the deliveries of the parts is not an overriding concern for us. We wait until the whole file is composed before looking at it. In this case, UDP is not a suitable transport layer. Let us consider another scenario. relating to the UDP application. Assume we are using a real-time interactive application such as Skype. Audio and video are divided into frames and sent one after another. If the transport layer is supposed to resend a corrupted or lost frame, the synchronizing of the whole transmission may be lost. The viewer suddenly sees a black screen and needs to wait until a second transmission arrives. This is not tolerable. However, if each small part of the screen is sent using one single user datagram, the receiving UDP can easily ignore the corrupted or lost packet and deliver the rest to the application program. That part of the screen is blank for a very short period of time, which most viewers do not even notice. So, this example is describing about whenever a live streaming, whenever you are delivering, if you are using a TCP kind of protocol, that is a reliable service protocol, in that case what happens, if any packets will be get corrupted or lost, then the TCP would like to retransmit that. If you are start retransmitting that, the synchronization of the live program will be get discontinued. So, instead of that, if I use an UDP, it is unreliable, but if I use the UDP in that, if only one packet will be lost or corrupted, if I ignore that, then other part will be the program will be get synchronized, and whatever continues there, and that I can telecast it. So, in such scenarios, the UDP protocol will be a best protocol. The summary and additional links we have discussed in this lecture. A UDP is an unreliable and connectionless transport layer protocol, and that creates or provides a process to process communication. UDP doesn't have a flow or a error control mechanism. The error control may be you can based on checksum, optional is there, so that goes according to that. And UDP uses a multiplexing and demultiplexing to handle outgoing and incoming user datagrams. For additional reference, you can refer the Data Communication Networking, the Forizon, the 5th edition. So, thank you very much.